There is something nobody really prepares you for when you start creating content. You think the hard part is going to be making the content, coming up with ideas, learning how to edit, figuring out thumbnails, trying to understand an algorithm that seems to change its mind every 15 minutes, getting people to actually watch the things you spent 6 hours making. And sure, all of that can be difficult. But eventually, you can run into something that has absolutely nothing to do with your content. It's your community. More specifically, the relationship between you and the people who consume what you make. Because there is a strange line that exists between being a creator and being a person who consumes content online. You want your audience to feel welcome. You want them to feel like they know you. You want your community to feel like a community. And honestly, that's one of the best parts of being a creator. But sometimes that relationship can become something else entirely. And when the boundaries between creator, entertainer, friend, moderator, therapist, and emotional support human start disappearing, things can get complicated and messy very quickly. So, today, while I build what is probably the most psychologically appropriate Pal World base I could possibly build right now, a prison, we're going to talk about parasocial relationships, creator boundaries, community culture, burnout, and what happens when the community you built starts becoming something you can no longer sustain. First, I want to clear something up. Parasocial relationships aren't automatically bad. They're actually a pretty normal part of consuming media. You watch someone regularly, you become familiar with their personality, you recognize their voice, you know their jokes, you might genuinely care about what happens to them, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. According to Science Direct, research on parasocial relationships has found that they can actually have positive effects, including feelings of connection, community, coping, and identity exploration. But they can also create problems when the relationship starts being treated as more reciprocal than it actually is. Because here's the fundamental difference. You might know a creator, but the creator doesn't necessarily know you. Even if they recognize your username, even if they've talked to you hundreds of times, even if you've been around for years, there is still an asymmetry in that relationship, and that doesn't make the relationship fake, but it does make it different. The problem starts when that difference disappears. When a viewer goes from, I really enjoy this creator, to, this creator owes me something. I've spent money on this creator. And that's where things can become unhealthy. And here's something I think that gets overlooked too often. Being a small creator can actually make parasocial boundaries harder, not easier. When you're small, you recognize people. You recognize the names coming into chat. You remember their stories. You know what games they like. You might talk to the same people every single stream, and that's honestly awesome. It's wonderful. That's the part of streaming that made a lot of us fall in love with it. But it also creates a feeling of closeness. And when the community is small enough, the creator can start feeling like they have a personal relationship with everybody. And that's where the lines can start getting blurry. Because if you have 20 people watching you, it feels completely reasonable to know those 20 people. But then those 20 people can start feeling like they know you. And if you've spent months or years being incredibly accessible, suddenly becoming less accessible can feel like rejection. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because the relationship has inherently changed. And change can be really uncomfortable. There's another part of this that I don't think viewers always see. Creating content is not just creating content. It's the invisible work around the content. It's moderation. It's answering messages. It's Discord, social media. It's managing conflict, remembering birthdays and special occasions. It's responding to people who are having a bad day. It's trying to make everybody feel included. It's reading and answering comments. It's watching analytics. It's worrying about whether people are enjoying themselves. It's figuring out whether someone is upset with you. It's trying to maintain the atmosphere of your community. And then, after you've done all that, you're supposed to sit down and make entertaining content. Research actually has a name for some of this. It's called relational labor. Sage Journals says that a 2024 study by researcher Zoe Glatt looked at the experiences of 30 content creators and found that creators are encouraged to cultivate intimacy and maintain relationships with their audience as part of their work. The study specifically examined the emotional and relational labor involved in managing those relationships and setting up boundaries. In other words, the relationship itself can become part of the job. And that's a pretty enormous thing to ask of one singular person. And this is where things start to get interesting, because communities don't usually test boundaries by announcing, "Hello, I'm about to violate your boundaries." It's usually much more subtle and much smaller than that. Can you make an exception this once? "Hey, why don't you do this thing anymore? You know you used to." "Oh, but we're friends, right?" "Oh, I thought you cared about us. Why can't you just..." And individually, those things might not seem like a big deal, but that's the problem. Boundaries usually don't disappear all at once. They erode. One exception at a time. One uncomfortable conversation at a time. One apology from the creator at a time. And eventually, the exception becomes the expectation. One way a community can test a creator is through access. "Why didn't you respond?" "Why didn't you see my message?" "Why didn't you say hi to me?" "Why didn't you come into Discord for this?" "Hey, why aren't you available?" "Why does your message always say, 'Do not disturb'?" And eventually the creator starts thinking, maybe I should respond so they don't feel ignored. And then the creator thinks, maybe I should explain why I didn't respond. And then maybe I shouldn't leave messages unanswered anymore. And suddenly being available isn't a choice, it's an obligation. Another thing is emotional responsibility. Someone has had a bad day. They're upset, they're angry, they're lonely, they're going through something, and because you're the person they've chosen to watch, you become the person they're bringing it to. And again, there's nothing wrong with having a community that's supportive of one another. That's part of what makes communities wonderful. But there is a difference between my community supported me today and my creator is responsible for keeping me emotionally okay. That second one is an enormous burden to put on another human being. And creators can fall into it because we genuinely do care. We don't want someone to hurt. We don't want somebody to feel ignored or passed over. We don't want someone to leave feeling worse than when they arrived. So inherently, we try to fix it. And then eventually, we're fixing everyone except for ourselves. Then there's loyalty testing. You've changed. You don't care about us anymore. You used to do this. Why are you playing that instead? Why are you hanging out with those people? Why are you changing the community? Sometimes these things are simply someone expressing that they don't like a change, and that's okay. Viewers are allowed to dislike your new direction. But when disappointment becomes pressure, that's when it becomes a problem. Because eventually the creator starts asking, what do I actually want? Versus, what will everyone let me get away with changing? And those are two extremely different questions. And then here's one of the biggest things, the culture. Communities develop their own culture, sometimes intentionally, sometimes completely and totally accidentally. A joke becomes a tradition. Isn't that right? Chat, chat, chat. A behavior becomes normal. A particular type of conversation becomes expected. Certain rules become understood without ever being written down, and eventually, the community has an identity of its own, which sounds great on paper until the creator changes, because creators change. We grow. Our interests change. Our priorities change. The things that we tolerate change, and our boundaries change. And sometimes the culture that worked for us 2 years ago doesn't work anymore, because creators are people too, and we change. This is where I think creators can start to get trapped, because you can find yourself maintaining a culture that you don't actually want anymore. You might have created a community around one type of content, one personality, one set of expectations, one set of rules, and then one day you realize, I don't want to do this anymore. But there's a problem. Your audience remembers the old version of you. They remember what you used to do. They remember what you used to allow. They remember how accessible you used to be. And some people will absolutely understand when things need to change, but then some won't. And that's okay. The difficult part is accepting that people leaving doesn't necessarily mean you failed. Sometimes it means the community is changing. Sometimes it means you've outgrown each other. And sometimes it means you're finally making something that is healthier for you as a content creator. And this is where the prison metaphor comes in. Because eventually, the creator becomes trapped by their own community that they created. Not physically, not literally, but psychologically. You start thinking about what you can say, what can you play, what you can change, who might be upset, who might leave, who might complain, and who might misunderstand. You think about who might think that you've changed, and you start modifying yourself before anyone even asks you to. You censor yourself. You avoid playing games with your friends that you love. You change your plans. You avoid certain behaviors. You stop experimenting. You stop taking risks. You stop making the content you actually want to make. You stop having fun because you're trying to preserve something. And at some point, as a creator, you have to ask yourself, am I building a community or am I maintaining a prison? And this isn't just something creators are imagining. There's actual research showing that creator burnout is a serious problem. According to Later, who surveyed more than 600 creators about social media burnout, they found that 49% of creators were categorized as experiencing high social media burnout, with another 30% categorized as average and 21% as low. This is important because it shows that burnout isn't some bizarre failure of a handful of creators. It's a widespread problem in the creator space. According to Science Direct, in 2024, a study examined 19 Instagram creators and found that these creators were experiencing stress around performance metrics, particularly the pressure to reach certain levels of likes and interactions. The researchers also found that stress from social media could spill over into the creators' personal, offline, real-world relationships. So imagine adding the audience's relationship on top of that. You're worrying about the views, about money, you're worrying about the algorithm, and you're stressing about your next upload, and you're wondering whether people are enjoying your stream. You're managing a Discord, you're moderating a community, you're answering messages and reaching out to developers and other creators. You're trying to be entertaining, and you're also trying to be a normal human being with a life outside of the internet. And eventually, something has to give. And some of the newer research around content creation and the creator's mental health is pretty sobering. A 2025 study from Creators for Mental Health and Lupiani Insights and Strategies, covered by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, found high rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout among surveyed digital creators. The study also reported that 10% of creators surveyed said they had experienced certain thoughts that I can't talk about on YouTube related to their work. It's not a statistic I want to sensationalize. It's actually one of the reasons I think we need to take creator burnout seriously. Because we sometimes treat this job like, oh, you're just playing video games on the internet. How hard can that be? And yes, sometimes we're playing video games on the internet. But there's a very real amount of emotional, social, financial, and creative labor happening behind that screen. And when you combine that with an audience that feels entitled to your time and your emotions, the job can become extraordinarily difficult to sustain. And that's basically where I've been. I'm not going to give you a play-by-play of what happened because there are people involved who deserve their privacy. So let's not make any comments down in the comment section about it. And honestly, I don't think turning every personal conflict into content is healthy. We're not in high school, guys. I will say this though. I reached a point where I realized that the way I was interacting with y'all, with my community, it wasn't sustainable for me anymore. I was trying to keep too many people happy. I was trying to maintain a culture that had shifted and it had changed. I was trying to figure out what the community wanted, while simultaneously trying to figure out what I wanted. And eventually, I didn't know anymore. I just knew I was tired. And when something you genuinely enjoy starts feeling like an obligation, when every time you go to hit the start streaming button, you cry for 30 minutes beforehand, when you start wondering, was any of it worth it? That's a warning sign. And it was a big flashing warning sign. So I stepped back. I've taken some time away and I've been contemplating things about what I actually enjoy making, about what I want my community to look like, and about what boundaries I need to set if I want to continue being in the content creation space. And honestly, I had to think about what I'm no longer willing to sacrifice simply to keep everybody comfortable and happy. I think creators have to learn something that is incredibly uncomfortable sometimes to think about. Your audience is allowed to be disappointed. They're allowed to have disagreements with you. They're allowed to leave. They're allowed to decide that your new direction just isn't for them. And that honestly doesn't mean that you or them did anything wrong. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to say no. You're allowed to take a break. You are allowed to stop doing something that makes you miserable and uncomfortable. You are allowed to change your rules. You are allowed to change your content. You are allowed to disappoint people. And the most important thing, you are allowed to be your own person. There is a strange expectation online that if someone has built a community, somehow that person belongs to that community. The community gets the final say. But appreciation does not equal ownership. Being grateful doesn't mean being available 24/7. And having a community doesn't mean surrendering your boundaries and your happiness and your life or your health to it. And I want to say something to the viewers too, because this isn't entirely a creator-made problem. If you are watching someone and you genuinely care about them, I think that's wonderful. Viewers are absolutely the backbone of the community. But the healthiest way to care about a creator is to allow them to remain a real person. Let them change. Let them take breaks. Let them make something that you don't like. Let them say no. Let them have their life that doesn't involve you. And if you don't like where they're going, that's okay. There are millions of creators on the internet for you to choose from. Find someone whose content makes you happy. You don't have to stay. And the creator does not have to become someone else to convince you to stay. This is the boundary. I don't know exactly what the next version of my content is going to look like. And honestly, I am okay with that, if I even keep creating content. I think part of stepping away has me realizing that I don't need to have every single piece of this thing figured out immediately. I don't need to recreate exactly what I had before. I don't need to force myself back into a schedule just because that's what I was used to. I can build something entirely different, something that feels sustainable for me, something that feels more like me than I feel like I've been in a very long time. And maybe that's been the real lesson here. Sometimes you've got to tear down part of the community that you built, not because it was all bad, but because you as a creator have changed. And the next thing that you build needs to fit this new version of you that you are now. So that's where my head's been. Not because I hate having a community. Quite honestly, it's the opposite. I love the idea of having a community. I love people finding friends. I love people having somewhere to go. I love creating something that gives somebody a reason to smile for a couple of hours. But I've learned that I can appreciate my community without belonging to it or being beholden to it. I can be grateful without being constantly available. And I can care about people without becoming responsible for how their emotions come out. So sometimes you have to take a step back, and sometimes you've got to change things, and sometimes people are going to be disappointed. And sometimes, apparently, you have to build a maximum security prison in Pal World to process the whole emotional roller coaster of an experience. Honestly, I'm calling that cheaper than therapy. Anyway, I hope this gave you something to think about, a little reassurance that I'm okay. Whether you are a creator or someone who spends a lot of time in content creation communities, I think that boundaries are something that we all have to learn, because at the end of the day, there's a real person on the other side of that screen, and they deserve to be one. And with that, I am going to stop talking about serious stuff. You have listened to me ramble long enough, so enjoy the rest of this prison build, and maybe I'll see you in the next one. If not, that's okay. Thank you for always being there and for listening. Enjoy the rest of the video.